with our application on the main part of the patio. As you can see, we're just kind of working our way back. I'm gently agitating that stain after Kevin sprays it on with my scrub brush. And we're getting ready to kind of back ourselves off the patio slab there. It is okay at this point if you walk on the area that you've sprayed stain on. We just didn't want to, necessarily get it all over our feet at that moment. And thus, that's why Kevin is wearing those really heavy duty rubber boots, because if he's going to stand on it, which you'll see in a few minutes, he walks back over it to do some touch up. You want to make sure that your feet are really protected. Now, you could wear tennis shoes and do that, but you can pretty much plan on throwing those tennis shoes away once you're done, because they're going to get stained up and have that stain on them. So again, this has been about, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes for us to get down to the end of the patio. And as you can see at the front of the screen here, where the sun is hitting that stain, it's already really starting to dry. And Kevin's real careful when he's spraying that stain. We're going wet edge to wet edge, not letting the stain dry in between where we're spraying, so that it has a solid application and doesn't cause lines to form. So I'm just there, you see I'm at the edge, I'm just gently agitating the stain on, and if you'll notice, I'm kind of going over the edge there with my brush. And now Kevin's standing off the patio itself, and he's actually spraying down over the edge. Our slab here is actually about 18 inches above the ground level, and we're going to be doing a backfill of some good topsoil for our yard. So we're actually staining down over the edge of the concrete of the patio and the concrete, so that we have a nice finish. We want to go about 1.5 inches, 2 inches down with that stain, because it's still going to show once we get our backfill in. So we want that area stained real nice, like the top part of the slab is. If you're doing this on a flat application, you're probably not going to do that, but you will want to be sure and get right up to the edge of wherever you're spraying, so that you have a nice clean look, clean finish. So we're just doing that agitation. Kevin's spraying around there, and we're just finishing up that last little spot. And I just really want to stress, you guys, how easy this really is. This is not a super difficult thing to do, staining your own concrete, and it just really, wait till you see this when we get done, it just really pops that patio and just really transforms what was just plain, really kind of ugly gray concrete is now this beautiful stained finished flooring, and it just turned out really, really super. We were super happy with it. So you see Kevin's going down over the edge just a little bit. I'm not real concerned with the edge. You'll see when we come around, maybe with the camera, you're gonna see like some drips that go down. We're not concerned with that, because again, that's going to be all covered with backfill, the drips are. But if your sides are exposed and gonna stay exposed, you're going to want to take that stain all the way down and be sure that you're using that brush to agitate very quickly, so that you don't have drip lines, because that's not going to look very good, with your overall finish. So you see, I'm just kind of bringing it across there. We're going to come around the corner here and go up the entire rest of the patio edging, just to make sure that we've got a really clean, good look to it. And we're doing this rather quickly. As you can see, we're getting into the heat of the day and the sun's shining, and we want to make sure that he gets that sprayed again, wet edge to wet edge, and that I'm agitating it while it's good and still moist and not all dried out, because that's definitely going to alter the end look. So now you see Kevin's standing. He's going back up on the patio, and I'm not agitating at this point. We're good on all of that, but what he's doing is he's touching up some areas. We've got a little bit of stain left in the spray area, and he's just kind of going back over some areas that look a little light, making sure we've got a good solid application. Because again, if you don't have as much stain in an area, that area is not going to necessarily be as dark, which again is okay because that could give you a really marbly look, but we didn't want to get all done, rinsed off, and then find that we have an area that's super light and stands out, that it looks unintentional, if you will. So he's just going back over the areas a little bit. A couple of them that he saw were a little light, maybe thought he had possibly missed those areas. And him, again, stepping with the boots on the stain isn't going to harm anything. It's just, we want to make sure that he's got the boots on to protect his feet, but it's not going to hurt the stain in any way. So he's going to go over that a little bit and make sure that we got a really good solid coverage. So here we just finished spraying everything, and as you can see, the wind's kind of getting breezy. We got a few pine needles that are spraying up there on the patio, but that's okay. They didn't stick. We were able to rinse them off, and it kind of added a little bit of character into the finish, and you could already see the patio taking that color and really bringing out that rich marbly look, and we just loved it. It really, really turned out nice, and we're pretty happy with it. So now we're going to let it sit. This is after about 16 hours. We'll let it set overnight, and we let that adhere. The longer you let it sit, the darker that stain's going to be. And then we're going to go ahead and start getting ready to rinse it off. So now we're into the next morning after we let the stain sit, and I'm just rinsing it off with a garden hose. Now we didn't use a power washer because you don't want to spray it really, really aggressively, but we wanted to be sure and get a little bit of force to rinse the stain off and get it off the edge of the patio. We just let it run off, again, because we weren't worried about the ground. We're going to do a ground cover there, but I want to really warn you, if you've got grass or bushes off the edge of your area, you're going to have a little bit of that stain possibly discolor or maybe kill a little bit of grass, but it'll come back. So we're rinsing it here. It's not real important to get it off super perfect and clean. We just want to get the majority of it off so we can see what the color looked like, so we can see if it's the color we wanted, or do we need to add more stain or do a second application. And so I'm just rinsing it off, kind of heading on down that way. And at some point here, it's not something you want to scrub off, but it does help to maybe agitate some of the color a little bit, so that's on there, or the stain that's on there, to help get it off. We wanted to make sure that we had all that residue, if you will, off before we were really deciding that, yeah, we like the color, we're good to go, and we're ready to neutralize it. So you see, Kevin, that's a super, super soft bristle brush that he's using. You could wash your car with that broom. And he's just gently agitating it. He's not really using any pressure, moving around, and just making sure that we've got the bulk of the acid stain off, because again, we want that off before we neutralize. And remember, once you neutralize, you're done. That's it. Your color is set. So we also want that residue off, because we want to make sure, what does that color look like, and is that what we're ready to stick with? So we're just again doing a little more agitation. We went around the whole patio that way, and the edges, just to make sure we were solid, good to go. And as you can see, the color is just gorgeous. It was the perfect marble look that we were looking for. And it was so neat because, we used the same color in the house that we did on the outside in the patio, and yet it looked differently. It was a different tones, different shades, and different marble effects that we had going on. So it was really neat, and kind of an interesting part of the process that we discovered as we went on. So after Kevin did a little bit of that agitation, I just went back and made sure we had a good, solid, final rinse, so that we knew we were ready to move forward and be able to do the neutralizing and set our color, and then get on to the ceiling. So now Kevin's using a squeegee and he's just very gently pushing on that to push the water off. Do not scrape the floor at the patio at this point, or the cement. He just wanted to make sure we got the bulk of the water off. We didn't want it super dry. What we're really trying to do is make sure that all that residue from the stain was off before we neutralize it. Doesn't have to be super clean, doesn't have to be super dry, but we wanted that residue off before we put the neutralizer on. But it doesn't have to be dry because we're going to soak it again, like I said. Now we're at almost our final step. So this is where we're going to set our color. At this point, this is it. The color you got is what you're going to have once you neutralize. And there's some fancy chemicals you can buy that cost pretty good amount of money. That is a special neutralizer, but what also works great is ammonia. So we just put ammonia in our water solution, and I think it's 1 part for 4 parts is how the solution works. And it took us about 1 quart of ammonia to do this entire patio area. And what you want to make sure you do is just really mop that on good. Cover everywhere. You want that stain to be neutralized, the solution. So we just took a mop and we rubbed it across there, made sure that it covered all of the area, touched everywhere that we had sprayed stain, so that it stopped the process and stopped the acid from doing its work, if you will, and neutralized it. So it took a few minutes, and this mop is definitely something that you will probably toss once you're all done, because ours was pretty stained up. So it just doesn't matter really what kind of mop, just an inexpensive one. They do recommend you don't use like a big cotton mop. The thing that we found that people were recommended to us was like a thin microfiber mop like what we have here, and that worked really great. It was super easy to rinse, real easy to use as you can see, Kevin, he's got it in the bucket there. He's just pouring it across the patio and then mopping it across, rubbing it across with the mop. So again, everything you're doing here, you just kind of, at this point, you still want to be gentle with your floor and realize that until that color is set, you can actually, scrape it, scratch it, rub it off, that kind of thing. You want to make sure that it's really setting good. So the big deal is to cover all the area that you stained with that neutralizer. And then, of course, our final step after we've rinsed this super good is going to be to do the sealer. And you want to really rinse this really super good and have it bone dry before you do that sealer. But we're going to do that for you on another video.